introduce you to Tara.
You vixen, you. Starlet, I love you. That gown is gorgeous.
Thank you. I saw it in the window and I just couldn't resist it.
Remember when Sunday nights on CBS meant wigs, pratfalls, and an entire cast trying and usually failing to keep a straight face? That was the Carol Burnett Show. For 11 seasons from 1967 to 1978, Carol Burnett turned sketch comedy into appointment television. She was joined by Harvey Korman, the sketch king who couldn't hold it together, Vicki Lawrence, the high school kid Carol plucked from obscurity who became Mama, Lyle Wagner, the handsome straight man, and Tim Conway, the chaos agent. And while the show looked like organized chaos on the surface, there are some behind-the-scenes stories and forgotten moments you probably never knew. Today, we're diving into 15 weird facts about the Carol Burnett Show. But before we jump in, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel show these videos to more retro TV fans just like you. Now let's get into it with number 15, Two Secret Angels launched Carol Burnett's career. Before Carol Burnett became the queen of sketch comedy, she was just a broke UCLA student who couldn't afford tuition. And then a mysterious envelope showed up in her mailbox with a $50 bill and a note inside that told her to chase her dreams. Carol still has no idea who sent it. Flash forward to her junior year, Carol performs at a fancy private party in San Diego. After the show, a wealthy businessman and his wife pull her aside. They ask about her dreams. Carol tells them she wants to move to New York and break into show business, but her bank account has other ideas. So the man makes her an offer that sounds like the setup to either a scam or a Hallmark movie, but somehow it was real. A $1,000 interest-free loan to move to New York, but on 3 conditions. Number 1, pay it back in 5 years. Number 2, never reveal his name, and number 3, if she makes it, help someone else the same way. Carol took the money, moved to New York, and exactly 5 years to the day, she mailed the check back with interest. She never broke rule number 2 either. His identity is still one of Hollywood's best-kept secrets even 60 years later. We're pretty sure it wasn't a ghost, but honestly, with this story, who knows? And that third condition? Carol turned it into a career mission. She spent decades lifting up young talent, most famously plucking teenaged Vicki Lawrence out of obscurity and turning her into one of TV's most iconic characters. The Carol Burnett Show was built on talent, timing, and brilliant sketch writing. But it also existed because 2 anonymous strangers looked at a broke college kid and thought, yeah, we'll bet on her. Number 14, Lucille Ball was Carol's mentor, guardian angel, and occasional co-conspirator. Carol Burnett had her own comedy guardian angel, and it just happened to be Lucille Ball, the woman who taught America that physical comedy didn't need a Y chromosome. The two first met backstage in 1959 after Carol performed in Once Upon a Mattress on Broadway.
2 chairs, because she doesn't want to eat standing up because her feet are getting fat.
Lucy watched the show, loved it, marched backstage, pointed at Carol, and basically said, "Kid, you ever need me, call me." And Carol actually called. A few years later, CBS dangled a carrot in front of Carol. You can have a 1-hour special if you can land a major guest star. So Carol dialed Lucy, and Lucy didn't hesitate. She showed up for Carol Plus 2 in 1966 and helped turn the special into a hit big enough to convince CBS to greenlight the Carol Burnett Show the following year. And it wasn't a one-time favor either. The two traded guest spots for years. Lucy popped up on the Carol Burnett Show multiple times, and Carol returned the favor on the Lucy Show and Here's Lucy. Every year on Carol's birthday, April 26th, Lucy sent her flowers. Every single year. Then came April 26th, 1989, Carol's 56th birthday. That morning, the world woke up to the news that Lucille Ball had passed away. Carol was devastated. But that afternoon, a delivery arrived at Carol's door. A bouquet with a card. "Happy birthday, kid. Love, Lucy." Lucy had ordered the flowers before she died. It was the final bouquet she ever sent, and Carol didn't even know it was coming. Lucy saw Carol's talent before the networks did, bet on her before anyone else would, and never stopped showing up. Number 13, the ear tug was a secret message to the woman who raised her. Every episode of the Carol Burnett Show ended the same way. Carol smiling into the camera, tugging her left ear, and signing off with that signature warmth that made 30 million viewers feel like they were part of her living room.
The time we have to say so long.
The ear tug was Carol's secret "I love you" to her grandmother, Mabel Eudora White, the woman who raised her, the person she affectionately called Nanny. When Carol landed her first TV job in New York in the 1950s, Nanny asked her to say hello on air. But in those days, talking directly to the audience without a script was a massive network no-no. So Carol and her grandmother came up with their own workaround. A tiny gesture only the two of them would understand. That subtle pull on her ear meant, "Hi, Nanny. I'm okay. I love you. I made it."
That's a signal to my grandmother who raised me. The lady asked why I always pull my ear. She raised me.
During the 11-year run of the Carol Burnett Show, Nanny passed away.
I'm so glad we had this time together.
And Carol kept tugging every single episode. What started as a private message to the woman who raised her became a tribute and eventually one of the most recognizable sign-offs in TV history. Number 12, Vicki Lawrence got hired because she looked like Carol Burnett's little sister. Now, most people break into show business with years of training, but Vicki Lawrence got hired because she looked like Carol Burnett if you squinted a little.
She's a little nervous because she's never had to come out just time. She didn't know what she's going to say or anything. Do you have any? Your hands are ice cold. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask Vicki?
Oh,
There's
no.
a little boy.
How old are you?
I don't know.
It all started when Vicki, then a high school senior, sent Carol a fan letter. She included a newspaper clipping from a local beauty pageant that mentioned her uncanny resemblance to Burnett. Carol grabbed a phone book and literally called Vicki's house. She was developing the Carol Burnett Show at that exact moment and just happened to be looking for someone to play her kid sister Chrissy in sketches. Carol showed up in person to the Miss Fireball of Inglewood pageant where Vicki was competing. Yes, Miss Fireball was a real title. The 60s were a bit wild.
Everybody has a childlike quality, even me.
Even you, I find that hard to believe.
Vicki won the crown, and Carol Burnett placed the crown on her head like a fairy godmother. Then came the audition. According to Vicki, it was rotten, but Carol didn't care. She saw raw potential, and let's be honest, that genetic resemblance was doing a lot of heavy lifting. So she hired the 18-year-old straight out of high school and threw her into sketches with some of the best comedians on television. Translation, sink or swim, kid. Welcome to CBS. Vicki Lawrence went from high school senior writing fan mail to cast member to full-blown comedy powerhouse, eventually creating Mama, one of the most iconic characters in TV history, and landing her own spin-off series. Number 11, Mama was born on the Carol Burnett Show. Now, long before Mama's Family became a staple of reruns, Thelma Mama Harper was already one of television's most unforgettable characters, and she was born on the Carol Burnett Show. Mama first appeared in March of 1974 during the show's 7th season in a sketch called The Family. Vicki Lawrence played the sharp-tongued, iron-willed Mama while Carol Burnett portrayed Eunice, her emotionally volatile, perpetually frustrated daughter.
What do you do to me? You scoff at me, you jeer at me, you laugh at me, you make fun of me, you tease me, and on top of that, you take my little yellow man.
From the very first appearance, the dynamic hit a nerve. These weren't broad sketch characters, they were uncomfortably real. The arguments felt personal, the insults landed harder, and the family dysfunction was so recognizable that audiences immediately connected with it. What started as a single sketch quickly became one of the show's most popular recurring segments, eventually expanding to regularly feature Harvey Korman as Ed Higgins, with Tim Conway appearing in several installments as Mickey Hart. Other recurring performers included Betty White as Ellen Harper, and guest appearances by Roddy McDowell, Alan Alda, and Tom Smothers as Mama's other children. That popularity carried the characters beyond sketch comedy. The family evolved into the dramatic television movie Eunice in 1982, followed by a short-lived sitcom, and finally Mama's Family, which premiered in 1983 and gave Mama a permanent home in primetime and later syndication history.
I feel purty, oh so purty. I feel purty and witty and bright.
Number 10. They taped every episode twice, just for Tim Conway. Carol Burnett Show ran a 2-show marathon every single week, and it was all because of one man, Tim Conway, professional chaos gremlin and Harvey Korman's personal nightmare.
Whoa now, mister. You put a slug in there. I could have you arrested for that.
Well, that's really comical. Tee-hoo.
The cast performed 2 full tapings in front of 2 different studio audiences. Take 1 was the Behave Yourself version. This was the safety net where everyone stuck to the script, hit their marks, and delivered the jokes as written, and pretended they were capable of doing a normal television show like responsible adults. It was the producer's insurance policy in case Take 2 turned into a complete dumpster fire, which it often did by design. Take 2 was known as the Tim Conway Has Been Unleashed version. In the second taping, Tim was given official permission to go completely rogue, and he took that permission seriously. He'd improvise entire monologues, invent new physical gags on the spot. If Harvey stayed in character longer than 20 seconds, Tim considered that a personal failure and an insult to his craft. Carol loved it, the audience loved it, and Harvey was fighting for his life trying not to crack up and losing that battle approximately 90% of the time. Producers would sift through both tapings and cherry-pick the best moments from each, but the improvised takes almost always won. Number 9, Bob Mackie designed 16,000 costumes, and one of them nearly broke television. If the Carol Burnett Show had a secret weapon besides pratfalls, it was Bob Mackie. He was a one-man fashion factory and possibly some kind of superhuman that didn't need sleep. Every week, he created 65 to 75 costumes. That added up to roughly 16,000 outfits over 11 seasons. He transformed teenage Vicki Lawrence into Mama by slapping her in a wig, a fat suit, glasses, and a whole new posture, but then came 1976, the moment Bob Mackie ascended from brilliant costume designer to comedy legend. In the famous Gone with the Wind parody, titled Went with the Wind, the script called for Carol's character, Starlet O'Hara, to wear a dress made from curtains. So instead of a tasteful curtain dress, he created a curtain rod dress, complete with an actual brass curtain rod sitting across Carol's shoulders like a medieval yoke as she majestically descended the staircase in full Scarlett O'Hara melodrama. Bob Mackie didn't just design costumes, he built characters out of fabric and sequins. Number 8, Mrs. Wiggins' famous waddle started as a costume problem. Mrs. Wiggins, the world's most uninterested, slow-moving secretary, had a walk so distinctive it could have had its own SAG card.
That's for crying out loud to you. Where are you going to now?
I'm going home. I get a headache whenever you yell at me.
You're not going anywhere. You got the letters to type here, and you're going to type those things if you like it or not. And another thing.
That little side-to-side waddle was pure comedy gold, but the way it came about was not exactly what Carol Burnett expected. Originally, Mrs. Wiggins was supposed to be a little old lady, but when Bob Mackie started designing her costumes, he cooked up something different. A tight black pencil skirt that hugged the knees and a mysteriously baggy backside. During the fitting, Carol looked at herself in the mirror, turned around, and pointed out the obvious problem. "Bob, this thing is huge back here. Take it in." Mackie, who understood comedy the way surgeons understood anatomy, just shook his head and said, "No, stick your behind out."
Portray this wonderful woman, Mrs. Wiggins, and then her character was created in a sense by our costume designer, Bob Mackie, because he thought up the way she should look, and he put me in that tight skirt, and there's no other way to walk.
So she did, and suddenly the skirt fit, and Mrs. Wiggins was born. What started as a fitting room problem became one of the show's most recognizable physical gags. Alright, we're going to take a quick pause because I need to know what's your go-to Carol Burnett moment. Tell us in the comment section below. And while you're down there, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss more trips back to classic TV chaos. Now let's get back to the countdown with number 7. The show had a revolving door of co-stars and some wild departures. If the Carol Burnett Show had a backstage scoreboard, it would have read something like, "Carol and Vicki still here, everyone else, please see front desk for checkout times." Because while the show lasted 11 seasons, most of its male co-stars came and went with the regularity of a rotating cast on a soap opera.
Claim check for you right here.
Well,
I get it out right here. Gotta have that in case you ever wanna claim it. Yeah.
Some left for bigger opportunities, some left for questionable ones, and some just didn't fit no matter how legendary they were. Harvey Korman was there for the long haul, seasons 1 through 10, until he left right before the final year to pursue a career that, let's be honest, never quite recaptured the magic. Sorry Harvey, we do love you, but nothing topped breaking character with Tim Conway. Lyle Wagner bowed out after season 7, presumably to pursue other ventures that required less sketchwork and more shirtless scenes. He landed Wonder Woman, so it worked out.
The human body to me is nothing but a mere collection of corpuscles, muscles, blood vessels, and holy mackerel!
Tim Conway spent 8 seasons as a recurring chaos agent, showing up just often enough to destroy Harvey's composure before officially joining the main cast for the final 3 seasons. And then there's Dick Van Dyke. CBS brought him in for season 11 to fill the Harvey Korman-sized hole in the ensemble. He lasted 10 episodes.
My thingamajig or my doohickey. Now, for the last 12 hours, we've had no lights, we've had no TV reception, and we've had a huge lake full of melted whammy sticks in the freezer.
Not because he wasn't talented, because he absolutely was, But because replacing Harvey Korman turned out to be like replacing the engine in a car that's already moving. It's technically possible, but why are we doing this again? Number 6. Carol's mother discouraged her dreams in the most hurtful way possible. For someone who spent 11 seasons making America laugh, Carol Burnett's childhood wasn't exactly a comedy. Her parents were both alcoholics. Her father in and out of movie theaters. He was an usher, not a director. Her mother nursing unfulfilled dreams of being a writer and taking it out on everyone around her. When Carol told her mother she wanted to be an actress, her mother looked at her and said, "You can always write no matter what you look like." Her mother basically told her that actresses needed to be beautiful and Carol wasn't. Her mother had wanted to be a scriptwriter, so the criticism was more projecting decades of her own disappointment onto a kid who actually had talent. She even whacked Carol for crossing her eyes or making funny faces. Those tiny discouragements lit a fire under her that nobody could put out. And here's the thing, Carol didn't just prove her mother wrong, she blew past every expectation, became one of the most beloved performers in television history, and did it all on the strength of the very expressions and comedy instincts she once got punished for. The faces her mother hated became iconic, and the goofiness she was told to suppress made her a star. Number 5, The Elephant Story. Tim Conway broke the cast, and Vicki Lawrence finished the job. This was the moment when Tim Conway brought the Carol Burnett Show to a full comedic standstill. It happened during the family sketch.
See, this elephant had this little dwarf trainer, and just used to put a little ballerina skirt on that elephant.
Everyone was supposed to follow the script, except Tim Conway woke up that morning and chose violence. In rehearsal, Tim told a short, harmless story about a circus. Cute, contained, and manageable. But when the cameras rolled, he launched into a sprawling, entirely improvised saga about Siamese twin elephants joined at the trunk, a circus act gone catastrophically wrong, and a dwarf trainer in a ballerina skirt trying to separate them with a saw. None of this was in the script, and none of this was remotely expected. His castmates didn't stand a chance. All of them were trying to hold back their laughter, and Tim just kept going and going and going. Finally, after what felt like 9 years of elephant lore, Tim wrapped up his monologue. There was a beat of silence, then Vicki Lawrence, still in character as Mama, barely holding it together herself, fired off the greatest unscripted line in the show's history.
Go on, Mama.
You sure that little asshole's through?
It was over. The cast exploded. The audience practically blacked out from laughing. Number 4, the show never hit the top 10, even with 25 Emmys. The Carol Burnett Show, one of the most beloved, influential, and award-stuffed shows in history, never cracked the Nielsen top 10, not once in 11 seasons. And yet, it didn't matter at all, because while the Carol Burnett Show never hit those golden numbers, it was a steady, reliable hit, usually landing somewhere in the top 30. CBS knew it had something special.
Lady, I gotta look on the truck. I don't think we carry them anymore.
Watch it, will you, Matt?
Set.
Yeah, I got a television set. What about it?
Oh, I kind of figured you for a Victrola.
The ratings were strong enough week after week that the network kept renewing the show for over a decade until Carol herself pulled the plug after the 77-78 season. By then, the series had been shoved into a weaker time slot and slipped to 58th place, but Carol was ready to move on. You can't blame her. 11 years is a long time to wear that many wigs. So no, the Carol Burnett Show never reached the top 10, it just became one of the most decorated and culturally significant shows of all time anyway. It won more Emmys than most series even get nominated for. It launched careers, influenced generations of comedians, and gave us moments that are still being replayed 5 decades later. Turns out you don't need to be number 1 in the Nielsen charts to be number 1 in people's hearts. Number 3, the Q&A segment almost never happened. It's wild to imagine the Carol Burnett Show without that legendary moment when Carol lets viewers throw anything at her. But that beloved opening that became synonymous with the show itself almost didn't exist. When the idea was first proposed, Carol was terrifying. She later said she was scared to death of the whole concept, which, fair enough, most performers would be. But her producer and then husband Joe Hamilton reminded her that she used to do the exact same kind of audience banter back when she was starting out, working clubs in New York and charming rooms full of drunk patrons who didn't even know who she was yet. If she could win over a smoky nightclub full of people who paid $5 and a 2-drink minimum, she could definitely handle a studio audience that actually showed up to see her.
He says, is it true to get on television all you need is a pretty face? Yes.
So Carol tried it reluctantly, and just like that, it became the signature start to every single episode for 11 years. Completely unscripted, totally live. It was Carol at her most authentic. Warm, playful, spontaneous, and way more fearless than she gave herself credit for. And audiences loved it. They asked about everything: behind-the-scenes gossip, her childhood, her castmates, her marriage, and yes, constant unrelenting requests for the Tarzan yell, which she delivered every time like the professional she was. The Q&A became one of the most beloved elements of the show. Other variety hosts tried to copy it. Most failed, because what looked effortless on Carol's part was actually a high-wire act disguised as a casual chat. Number 2, most musical numbers vanished thanks to musical licensing. Now, if you grew up watching the Carol Burnett Show during its original run, you remember the big musical numbers. But if you've only seen the show in reruns, you probably never saw any of it. When the show entered syndication as Carol Burnett and Friends in the late 70s and early 80s, it got chopped down to a half-hour format. The comedy sketches stayed, musical numbers were gone. Anything featuring copyrighted songs, which was basically every musical segment, got left on the cutting room floor like yesterday's bad takes. Because back in the day, music contracts only covered the initial broadcast. To re-air those songs decades later would require relicensing every single piece of music, tracking down rights holders, negotiating new deals, paying fees that often cost more than the reruns would ever make. Translation: it's not happening, next question. So the musical segments just disappeared. Not because they weren't loved, not because they weren't good television, but because they were trapped in legal limbo by expired contracts and copyright lawyers who charge by the hour. Number 1, Carol taught herself the Tarzan yell at 9, and it became her secret vocal workout. When the 9-year-old Carol Burnett first watched Johnny Weissmuller swinging through the jungle as Tarzan, she decided she wanted to be him. Not Jane. Never Jane. Her blonde cousin always got cast as Jane when the neighborhood kids played Tarzan after the movie. Carol got stuck playing a tree or a random jungle animal. Hollywood typecasting starts early, apparently. So Carol did the only logical thing a scrappy kid with something to prove would do. She taught herself the Tarzan yell. That wild, echoing, yodel-like war cry that could summon elephants. She practiced it obsessively, yodeling in her room, probably driving her grandmother Nanny absolutely insane in the process, until she nailed it. Perfect pitch, perfect volume. The audience went wild every time for 11 years. Opera legend Beverly Sills, one of the greatest sopranos of the 20th century, once asked Carol how she managed to do the yell without destroying her vocal cords. When Carol demonstrated, Sills burst out laughing and told her she'd accidentally stumbled onto a genuine vocal exercise.
Yes, yes.
Would you do your Tarzan yell?
You want me to do my Tarzan yell? All right, okay. I just shaved my chest. I might not do it.
And there you have it, 15 weird facts about the Carol Burnett Show. Which one surprised you the most? Did we miss your favorite backstage story or legendary sketch moment? Let us know in the comment section below. Seriously, we read them and sometimes we even respond like actual humans. You know, like my voice, because I tell you, I'm not AI. Now, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more nostalgic deep dives, and until next time, this is Remember When.